with your host, Dehru Mitchell. And today's subject is why wait? Here's Dehru.
Yes, that question comes with the simple fact that at this point in time, we are still coming up out of the mud. And I say that because in so many ways, so many people have not seen the heights that has been reached by our people. And in most cases, they don't seem to even care to. It seems as though all the distractions and all of the ways in which we have been made not to care about ourselves has given us a attitude that whenever it happens, it happens. We don't have the ability to put ourselves in the process of making it happen, and it can be done in oh so many ways. But I'm going to say this: I've in my years seen so many instances where it was like blockaded, like it was closed off, like we didn't have a knowledge of all of our genius, all of our abilities being afforded to us, given to us, acknowledged. Our tendencies to make achievements were only based on the things that, okay, we made it possible because we did vast struggling to get somewhere or to get something allowed to us. I don't care now to say that we have to be in that condition anymore. I tend to think that as of a people, we have minds that are of above their statistical genius caliber. And I say that a little condescendingly because we've always been above that. So much so that it was copied and given a label of it being theirs. They had no ability to do anything but make a standard at which they set the qualifications of that standard, whereas we never measured ours. We just did, and we shared it out so that even if there was a magnificent or what they call um, a stupendous, one of those achievements where somebody could take credit for it and be considered genius, we dissipated that amongst the millions of us so that in the use of it, it did not seem such an astronomical thing. But the gains from it, the gains of the gains for the people who got the um, use of it gave us mobility, forward motion, gave us a higher standard of life, gave us a more determined goal as to make things better for our next generations. I didn't say one, I said generations, because it's an ongoing thing. As I don't care to dwell on it much, but as their um, as the program was set, you understand that there would be a people who would rise above the people who were in the heights and positions to share the world on an equal and just basis. even down to from the highest point to the lowest. We didn't separate these things into classisms as they are called today. We had an equal measure for measure. You understand? If it was the many seeking from the few, then the few that had the ability to give gave without hindrance and without, just say, obligation, freely, you know. And in like terms, it was given back to them or given to them in the first place. They were the ones whom were led to the necessary materials. And they could only say it was God sent, you know, such as it was, you know. But how would not the creator of the world know or not know where he put things to send those who were in need of to? Answer me that one. And then you find that in most cases, it was always there, right up under their feet. Everything that they would need, from the smallest tribe to the greatest of nations. Understand? And those that didn't have, well, I wonder why. But then at the same time, why did they chose to come in the manner that they did to acquire what they felt they needed? Um, leave that for what for. I'll leave that for now because at this point we have the ability and surely the straightforwardness to go on back to being ourselves, looking to ourselves, loving ourselves, being ourselves without the encumbrances that one would say, I have to wait until I'm allowed to. You understand? I have to be given permission. I have to accept that by the way things are structured, I got to go along with it instead of being the difference that makes the change. You know, I never agreed with a whole lot, and a whole lot I didn't do because I didn't agree with it. And I'm not going to incriminate myself now. No, I'm not going to tell on me. But it's a telling by those who know me. It's a telling by those who have saw me in action and what I chose to do instead of what I chose not to do. You know, I feel today there are many ways many people are saying, look, this was done, that was done, and even those that did it had to write it down, had to document it because that was their only way of proving that they did it, and they're not going to lie on themselves. You understand? They will even state where the lie began to be given to the people who now think that it was all them in the first place. You understand? They have given very little to doubt when it comes to how deceiving was an initial strategy to put them in the position that they have of control, of manipulation, and of mass mind control. It's not hard to control things when you have control over the money, control over the food. It's the epitome of control. You understand? And my understanding in this country, not only did they commit genocide of people, they mass murdered the animals of this land. Some to extinction and some so close that they dare not have went any further. Because I remember a song that says where the deer and the antelope play, where there was so much abundance that you could not see across the plain and not see it moving because there was herds of this and herds of that, you know. And we, the people of the land, took sparingly. They only took what they needed, and they gave thanks for that. And to my knowledge, in um, certain certain customs of the people of the land, they spoke to the spirits of the animals to dismiss them, to grant favor from them, or even to join with them after their demise, being that they supply the nourishment. And this is so deep that even during the times of invasions, they thought they saw this particular pack of animals seeking justice for their slaughter. But we'll go on. But because today is 2026, and it didn't occur to me until I got my little ID renewed, that 2030 is 4 years away, and they have agendas already set for it, and they're implementing things now for that agenda to be carried out uh, without without flaw, without wavering, so that when that 2030 hits, it's going to go into process. It's going to go into functioning. It's going to be exactly how they have made it to be. And for us to be sitting back now, allowing it, we don't know the political terminology. We don't know the financial wherewithal that they're going to do things that actually depends on us. You know, we have a source. Well, we had just say we got what do you call it? We got a dog in the fight. You know what I'm saying? And I think in the truest sense, we got the best dog in the fight. Um, excuse me. There is my people. I'm saying that because I'm what do you call it? Possessive. Mm. I'm possessive of the intellect that refuses to be compromised by those who think they have um, who have cornered the market on it, set the standards, cause those things to be that aren't, because we make them and then they are. You understand? And with the current oncoming flow, that available knowledge that can no longer be hidden, that is being uh, abundantly sought after, at least by those who are thinking just a little bit. They ain't got to do a whole lot of thinking, just think a little bit. Ask one question at the bottom, it'll formulate the rest of the questions to take you to the top. If you got a curiosity about why something is the way that it is, all you got to do is, just open your mind to accepting an answer, no matter how far fetched it sounds. Because in the end, there's going to be somebody that says, I thought that up. And we shared it amongst ourselves, those who had the ability to bring it into a process, a programming, an indoctrination, a way of causing people to give themselves over to it. They'll tell you when it began, when it gained substance, when it became this part, that part, how it how it pyramided to its apex that it is today. And they'll expect for you to call that, oh, that's great. That was a marvelous business mind. That's unattainable again. Nobody can do that. It's already been done. You can't get in on it because it's a monopoly. Can't form your own. Oh, what? Disenfranchise yourself from any and all of those things. And what can you not do? In every aspect of being a person or being a people or being in the land, choosing, it's up to you. And I'm going to say the time is now. Why wait? You know, you say unity is impossible. Well, I guarantee you, you got two or three people that you agree with on most things. You understand? That you have love for and they have love for you. I don't care. I don't care on what basis it is, as long as it's promoting love outwardly and not on the basis of taking life either for granted or purposely to death. Because we know some got to go. You understand? And some are going to go on a daily basis. That's only natural. You understand? Your time's up, you're going. But then to be assistance to that because of someone else's agenda, I don't think that's quite right. And I don't care how socially acceptable it is. I don't care how governmentally it's implemented or caused to be or said is a patriotic duty or any of that crap. And this is me talking because I stopped I looked around and said, what's a democratic republic? What's a flag having the ability to hold my allegiance? And why is it that irregardless of everything else, we're still fighting in a land that I now know we had in front. But then back then, as a child growing up, I just felt like we was fighting just to stay here. You know, be be somebody and have something. Not knowing that, okay, if you go to school, if you read some merit of academic achievement or school skill sets, then you can have this position or that position or this position or that position. But if not, you don't understand. You just can't be an ordinary person and live a life enjoyably for yourself. You know, meet your own needs. First of all, you ain't have nothing. And that was by design. You understand? And I found that even though somewhere in the lineage of your people, you had much, it was taken. The knowledge of it was distorted. It vanquished you to oblivion. And then someone else say that they were always there and you weren't. Because you can't find yourself in the records. We now have the ability to say, hey, okay, if it was Native American in front, Aboriginal, Indigenous, those three categories, it all got changed anyway. You became Negro, colored, Afro American, Black, African American. And each one of those were a point of deletion. Took you further and further away from the things that were purposed in front. You understand? Such as treaties, such as land masses and territories and things of that nature, that you had the ability to have some say so over as the natural people of the land, that those things were supposedly contracted with as treaties and so on and so forth. But nobody contracted anything with Negroes. Nobody contracted anything with Black people, African Americans, none of those things. But you can go back in history and find out that the Native Americans are now called African Americans. And until they we go back all the way down through their genealogies and try back up and give a position to leaders and the bloodline lineages of chiefdoms and matriarchy and all of those things that were original on the land. They'll tell you nobody sold anything to anyone. It wasn't ours to sell. And today, and they claim we sell our souls. You know, I kept looking at that. I kept hearing that. I kept hearing that. I kept hearing that. I remember my birth certificate, my original birth certificate. It had my footprint on it, the sole of my foot. Couldn't get no more. Just that one that I remember seeing. And I don't know how or when it got away from the family. You understand? But I don't think anyone very much still have those original birth certificates that on the bottom says they are some sort of legal tender. Yeah, I looked into it that much. You know, I kept hearing this about a birth certificate and being worth this and holding an account and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. But man, just the fact that that flashback of seeing a birth certificate with your fingerprints and your footprints, the sole of your foot on that piece of paper. Wow. It really makes me want to go all the way in. I just haven't had the tenacity to do so. I'd rather, regulate and delegate and, give it to somebody else to do who would do a much more thorough job than me because it doesn't hold my interest like that, even though it's a heartfelt thing. I feel it in my heart. But you see, we've been so conditioned as to not give thought to ourselves for the benefit of someone else. To the extent, hey, look, we'll hurt ourselves, each other, and set someone up on a pedestal like they belong there and they don't. You understand? They need to be, well, what I would say, short circuited, since we know the brain has electrical currents, and they consider themselves the brains of this operation. They be short circuited, cut off, and since we're the cheapo, the sheeple, the what do you call the cattle, chattel, just cut them off. Let the herds run off to themselves and see if they're so dumb as to not be able to survive. I doubt it highly seriously. You understand? Even if we had to go back to the motherland and get the necessary technology to do what we need to do today, in today's time, in today's real time, it's there. I know if you haven't, you should check it out. Check out the inventors in the motherland. See what they're doing. They say I mean, we're the third world countries have to rely on them for certain things. Yeah, weaponry and shit like that. Something to defend ourselves from them. Because they don't care. They just like anything else, they just blow us up if we get in their way or too highfalutin to say that they can't have what they want. You understand? Damn what we have. We ain't got enough to do for ourselves, but they can have everything, including us, not to do for ourselves. Bottom line. But I mean, for me, it's like, okay, why isn't the just say the frequency devices of Maxwell Chikumbutsu worldwide? Look, why not give up fossil fuel, pollution, and all the rest of that that goes with it? I don't care about the finances. No, no. I mean, it's going to take enough to just process the things that makes that uh uh uh, uh makes the products that's worldwidely distributed. I'm sure there's going to be some waste from that, even though I'm pretty sure it can also be what do you call it, recycled. The green effect. They keep the green. I don't know what they call it. Green footprint, whatever, whatever. I know it's not a worldwide pollutant such as the petroleum industry is. Uh, my man, um, right next to Maxwell Chikumbutsu, did the Neuralink of pros- of mechanical limbs. You know, there are so many people either born with birth defects or having the after effects of uh, 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 colonization, uh, uh, just horrendous mass invaded lands where you had to lose a body limb in payment to live, just to live. And he has this thing that's neural linked. It can go in your brain and cause you to think this mechanical limb into motion. I haven't seen it operate as a leg yet, but I'm pretty sure it can be modified to that. I've seen an arm, hand, so on and so forth. It's not the one. It's not the one like you put on a glove and you can make that do all of that, this, that, and the other. But no, it's more realer than that. Looks like it has pneumatic um, hydraulic systems in it that operate off the brain that has much more pliability and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, I got things from one side that I really didn't get, but I got the underlying things from a source that I trust, that I believe, that I can consider because I know myself. You understand? I understand where people who were able to give life to people, raise standards of living. Oh my goodness. Delete. They were deleted, but they deleted those statements way before they even got started. That they were subjecting their own people to some form of not caring for them. And they were doing everything for their people that no one else was doing for a mass melting pot where everybody got their needs met from the lowest level to the highest level. You understand? It hurt my feelings. It really hurt my feelings. You know, it made me take a look back through some things. You understand? The ones who were assassinated worldwide, what they had done to deserve it, according to the ones who did it, and according to the ones who knew the truth of it, because they did not do it on the basis of having done what those who did it to them say. What's a democracy when it comes to what the world has to adhere to or seek to be in a standard of? America, my understanding of having to say a pledge of allegiance or the infantile days of my gaining some kind of mentality was to a republic. And then, if you started taking down the abbreviations, the suffixes, the prefixes, and so on and so forth, what's a republic? They did it for themselves. Republic. It was already a public here. They republicated it. Yeah, put that down as a word to define. When they came across the waters, moved you out the way like you wasn't here. Same thing over there in the motherland. When the Belfort, whatever the heck, when they decide to slice it up like a pizza or a cake, pie, whatever you want to call it, everybody got a piece. Every European nation got a piece to supply their nation with. And then they got the people over there warring against each other because somebody over there wanted a bigger piece. And it's crazy. And it's still going on today. We supposed to be, we are supposed to be a people who either don't care or have nothing to say. Because if we say anything, it's going to be either traitorous or condescending. So what? You know. But I can't say that we don't have people who are bringing us back up on par to know ourselves, to know our abilities, to know what powers we hold. And I'll be one to say we have the greatest of the sensory powers there is. You understand? That 100 monkey effect and all that stuff ain't nothing compared to the psychokinetics and telepathy and the magnetic impulses that we can generate. Nothing. Understand? We can send a thought across the world, send energy across the world. And I mean, haven't gotten down to factually putting anything together, hold two magnets in your hand or tape two magnets to your hand and try to squish them together in opposites and see them do this. That's motion. That's energy. Just me rolling my hands around over here, I feel the heat. Yeah, we have that. That's us. I don't know. Can anybody else claim it? Yeah, for sure. It could be in degrees according to the levels of melanation you are. Melanation. So, what is your nationhood? And where will your nation stand? Are you on your own side? I'm sure. And I guarantee you that in stating we have no longer a need to wait, there's the ability to overtake as we overstand. There's ability to restructure that which we once had as structure for ourselves. And so what if nobody else likes it? Divest ourselves with our at least last I heard, $1.2 trillion worth of self, if that's our monetary worth. Divest it, use it for ourselves, amongst ourselves. See what that gets us. I'm sure we can multiply it tenfold, almost immediately. We have some of the best minds there are. I mean, right here in this land, right here in this America, this America. For a minute, I hadn't even understood that there were three Americas. You understand? It's a whole lot more than we ever give conscience and thought about that went on around us, underneath us, and above us. You understand? We'll get there. We'll get to it. We're going to do it Question to me is why wait? You understand? Hook up, hook up, link up, connect up. Find yourself very, very able. You understand? Not the able that Cain slew. Very, very able to do that which you set your mind to in one voice and of one mind. There were words said about that. So, you know, in the in the multiverse, to this universe, to this solar system, to this planet, all of those things I'm waiting. They do what they do on a daily basis, irregardless as to who cares or don't care, who wants otherwise or not otherwise. It's set. The motion is set. It would take some real otherworldly disturbances to cause those things to not be in the universal flow that they're in. And I mean galaxies upon galaxies. You understand? And I don't know, but I do think that I know all has a effect. That's why it was caused to be the way that it is. Now, there's much more I would like to say. My time is coming up to being over with. I want to give credit to Out of the Mud Productions, um, and I'll get more into it as time goes by. I'm gonna wake up the sleeping beast, and we're gonna see if we can get this closed out. And I'll see you the next time. Much love.